Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Here we go. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. I'm not holding it in anymore. I'm gonna shout it out loud. Oh, I understand now what I'm here for and what this life is about. What this life is about. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Here we go. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. It's about love and it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love and it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love and it's about service, it's about lending a hand. Lending a hand. Woo! Here we go. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors and let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine.
Welcome to Unity Comox Valley, a positive path for spiritual living. Thank you for responding to whatever it was that called you to tune in today. Thank you for giving light out into the world, for allowing your divine nature to express more fully and more beautifully just the way you are, and not to look at anybody else or any other situation that kind of shrinks you or diminishes you in some way. We are each created uniquely divine, an expression of all good and the one mind, and we each express that in a different way. So thank you for doing it in just your way, because by doing that we are contributing to peace and to light and to harmony in our neighborhoods, in our lives, and on the planet. I want to tell you a true story about a woman called Jean Bauer, and she's called the Daffodil Lady. So over 50 years ago, she retired and she began painting a hillside on her family's 5-acre piece of land. Painting with daffodils. When she started, she knew nothing about daffodils, and that first year she planted 24 of them. Each year she planted more, and the next year even more than that. The most she ever planted was in 1993, when she, all by herself, by hand, planted 35,000 bulbs into the ground. Even though she may plant as many as 1,000 bulbs in one day, and most of them, she says, by lunchtime, She says a good tip to getting it all done without feeling overwhelmed is to only take 200 at a time into the field. To have more than 200 laying on the ground at one time would just seem like too much to accomplish. But when she tackled it a little bit at a time, it's easier. This 5-acre daffodil field is tucked away in a valley, and thousands of people have been blessed by it. I got to see this, not in person unfortunately, but in photographs. And it's on a bit of a hillside, and she's got the colors planted like water flowing down the hillside, all different styles and colors of daffodils. It really is quite something to behold. So this is the first, there's a couple lessons in this daffodil field, which is why I'm sharing it with you today. The first one is we have to stop and look. Sometimes the most beautiful things in the world are tucked away in everyday things that we don't notice. Sometimes they're in out-of-the-way places that we don't bother with. The daffodil story has a bigger message than the flowers themselves. If you stopped to admire this daffodil field, you would see a sign posted there, and this is what it says. Answers to the questions I know you are asking. 50,000 bulbs. One at a time. By one woman, 2 hands, 2 feet. Began in 1958. She may have started with a vision of these unending fields of daffodils, of flowers, but she also gave herself permission to dream about that field, and she had faith that she could make it happen. One day at a time, one step at a time, one bulb at a time. Many of us hold our desires within our hearts, and we have not given ourselves permission to explore them. They seem too big, too different, too outside of our comfort zone. And so we keep them firmly tucked away instead of realizing that these desires are a divine nudge for us to listen to look at, to respond to. Don't stop planting. Because even when your life is over, the flowers and the seeds of love that you plant everywhere you go will continue to bloom and inspire others. This week is the first Sunday of Lent, the season that leads us up to Easter. Pat Clarkson and I are taking turns speaking about the theme, which is release and renew. Pat is starting the series today, and you're going to hear about wet spaghetti and dogs without teeth. Wonder what that has to do with release and renew? Stay tuned.
I Today, we are entering into Lent. 40 days plus 6 Sundays make up Lent. And this Lenten season can be, if you choose, a sacred season of reflection and release. In one of my Lenten readings, I heard it described as similar to spring house cleaning. And I love that analogy. Do you seem to, over the winter months, just accumulate stuff? I do. Not a lot of stuff, but I do. It's like I'll deal with it later. You know, there's a saying on prairies in Saskatchewan that over the winter months, people put on 10 pounds, and we just don't even notice it until it's time to put on our shorts and tank tops, and then we sure do. Every winter, I anxiously wait for the first nice day that may say spring is here, and I throw open every window in my house. Every window. It may not be the nicest day out, but to me, it's a beautiful day that spring is coming. Now, I will often put a heavy sweater on or a jacket, but I won't close the windows because I want that fresh air to just clean out the cobwebs and the feeling of being inner encased. But sometimes when I start to go through my accumulations, I don't know if I want to give it up. You know, there's something there that just maybe I might use it next winter. Just so, let's just store it. And because I've become comfortable with it. Like I have sweaters that I have not worn this winter, but they're going to be packed away because just maybe I'll need it. And sometimes that's like our emotional characteristics that limit us, block us from being all we can be. And I once had a friend, because we were talking about these characteristics and saying like, how come I can't release it? I know how much harm it's doing to me, no one else but me. And my friend said to me, well, I have one of those too. And I call it my wet spaghetti. And she said, whenever I'm feeling sorry for myself, I just bring it out and I throw it against the wall like a wet spaghetti and it sticks. And then I'm perfectly justified in how I'm feeling. And she said, I have a tough time letting go of that wet spaghetti because if I don't have it, what am I going to blame my feeling sorry on? So sometimes it takes great courage to let go of your wet spaghetti or a characteristic that, I got to look inside and see why I still hang on to it. And we're fearful because we aren't sure what we're going to discover when we go inside. What is it that's there that I keep wanting to hang on to this? And I want to share a true story that I was told this weekend. And it's about the young boy I'm going to talk about is now a man. And his name is Doug. And many years ago, he had to walk to school. And in grade 5, he moved to a new school and he had to walk. So he figured out the shortest way to get there. So he's walking to school, and all of a sudden, this big dog roars out to the sidewalk, and it's chained, so it stops dead after charging him, but he was terrified. He said that, what if that dog got off the chain, or what if the homeowner forgot to put him on the chain? So at that moment, he decided he'd never walk down that street again because of that dog, even though it was the shortest way to school. So he'd go around the other block or go the other way. And this went on through grade 5, grade 6, and then grade 7, he said, I thought, look, I'm older now. I shouldn't be afraid of this dog. So he's going to school in grade 7, and he walks down the street, and the dog charges him again. And he gets to the end of his leash at the end of the sidewalk, and Dog takes a look at the dog and realizes the dog has no teeth. The dog has no teeth. So when you're wondering and fearful about dealing with a characteristic and what's going to happen and what am I going to discover, please remember this story and say, maybe it has no teeth. Maybe it has no teeth. Lent provides you and I with an opportunity to clear away any characteristic that may be lingering within us, a characteristic that may stop us from fulfilling the fullness of our spiritual life. The purpose of Lent is to mentally prepare us, physically, mentally, spiritually, for a new awakening, to resurrect out of us old states of consciousness into a new realization of life. Lent was established by the early Christian church to prepare our hearts and minds for Easter, for the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Part of that preparation was abstinence from something you cared about. I remember as a child being told I had to give up something I liked. I would be asked, what am I going to give up? Reading, because I love to read. Or my favorite TV show that I watched once a week in black and white. Or chocolate. I do not remember ever getting a valid reason for why I had to give up chocolate. I just didn't. And so, Vicky, last week when you said about you give up something like chocolate, I chuckled because maybe you got a valid reason for why we had to give up something we liked. I had been in Unity for 6 months when I experienced my first Unity Lent. And I was to experience a whole new understanding of Easter. And I was to discover that at Unity, you don't have to give up chocolate. What I was being asked to fast from or release is a characteristic that I did not particularly like within myself. I was being asked to release that characteristic for 40 days. Just not to give it any power for 40 days. It would still come up, but I'd just say, no, I give you no power. And then I was asked to feast on an aspect, feast or renew an aspect of my being that I wanted to have more of. I remember my first year, I very quickly knew what I was going to release, and that was judgment. And I remember that I feasted on joy. And then the second year in Unity, I fasted on judgment. And I can't remember what I feasted on. So, remember, Unity views the Bible from a metaphysical interpretation. Unity sees the Bible as the unfolding of man's consciousness, the story of the unfolding of man's consciousness. Thus, Unity views the crucifixion and resurrection from a very different perspective than mainstream religion. In the revealing word, crucifixion is metaphysically interpreted as crossing out in consciousness the error thoughts that have become fixed states of mind. And I love that. The error thoughts that have become fixed states of mind, I can see them just being stuck in the mud with your rubber boots and you're saying, I really want to let go of this, and they're just hanging on in the mud. It is giving up the aspects of ourselves governed by selfish motives. It's dealing with the human thoughts that block us from the truth of our being. I want to share with you words from the book, The 7 Living Words by Reverend Mark Anthony Lord from Unity of Naples, Florida. Remember, each crucifixion is calling us to be more of who we are, fully free, fully powerful, and fully faithful, that we are always supported and sustained by the love of the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of wholeness. Every crucifixion, no matter how difficult or seemingly life-shattering, is simply a desire to follow your dreams at all costs. Our crucifixion is calling us to surrender so that we can remember the truth. That within us is the greatest power of all, a divine being that is eternal and that can never be destroyed or diminished. Now, resurrection is metaphysically interpreted as restoring of mind and body to the original undying state. As a dear friend of mine would say to me, resurrection is remembering who we truly are, remembering our divine nature, remembering our Christ nature. Lent provides an enlightening blueprint for transformation, for letting go of the past and moving forward into our next level of consciousness and expansion. Unity's view of Lent is like what happens in spring. It is a time of rebirth. It's a time for spiritual transformation. We fast or release negative thoughts or behaviors that create a separation from God or from our authentic selves. We realign with Christ consciousness through renewing what is true about us. I want to share with you statements of release and renew. These statements will be woven into our Sunday talks by Reverend Vicki and I. The first statement is, I release any belief in limitation. I renew my sense of possibility. And I'm just going to pause here and talk a little bit about this one, because when I read it, it reminded me of my journey through the spiritual labyrinth at the first Sunday of the new year. And I shared that after walking that labyrinth, what I was given to release was self-limiting statements. And this said, I release any belief in limitation. And I was to realize mercy. So I am considering doing a major shift in my life again. I don't doubt if that surprises you all. I will always be here when my mom needs me, but my sister has retired. So we are talking about taking turns. My sister's daughter and grandbabies are in the States, in Denver, and Terry will go down and be with them and babysit, which just thrills her because her whole reason for retiring was to be with her kids and her grandbabies. And I will be here to care for Mom, and then when she comes home, I'm going to travel. And I've had a dream since I was in my 30s, and it was that I can see myself in a camper van with a dog, just being free and just traveling. And so I am seriously looking at that. But what I realized, and I've talked a little bit about this, is I thought my self-limiting statements would be the negative statements I give myself about my self-worth. But positive statements can be self-limiting. And here's the example. I have a beautiful, affordable home. Every piece of my artwork has a place to be displayed. I live in a beautiful neighborhood. I can walk to 90% of everything I need. I have a garden I'm growing perennials in. All of that. And I am considering finding some place to store my furniture, getting a camper and a dog, and we're going to go away. And when I'm here, I'm saying to my sister, can I just have a room wherever you are? And just set up a room there. So I was laughing the other day because, Charlene, I finally got furniture when I got to Victoria, and here I am saying I'm going to put it in storage. So like it's just, I go, it's crazy. So there's my self-limiting. But here's a self-limiting thought I got. You should be grateful for what you have. You are so fortunate to find what you have. And I am so grateful every day for this home and where I live. But those thoughts are limiting me for looking at other possibilities. And I loved when Reverend Vicki talked about that exercise of just sitting with possibilities. No limiting thoughts, no, just sitting with possibilities. Because I'm working through this because I am grateful, so grateful. Yet COVID, the death of someone who I really liked at 55, I'm not ready to hang out my shingle yet. I'm not that old. So that's where I'm at, but I'm discovering things about this statement. I release any belief of limitation and what limitation looks like. And I renew my sense of possibility. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it, but I need to release them so I can at least look. So I'm going to continue now with the rest of the release and renew statements. And as I said, these statements, Vicki and I will be choosing some to speak to in our talk. So here we go. I release a habit of judging others. I renew my commitment to see the divine in all beings. I release all doubt and indecision. I renew my divine power of wisdom. As I say these, look at what you're going to release and see how it does impact what you can renew. I release negative thinking. I renew my positive expectations. I release discontent. I renew my gratitude in all things. I release apathy. I renew my zeal and enthusiasm. I release the lack of fear. I renew my awareness of abundance in life. And think of these. Listen to the words you're releasing and the ones you're renewing. Which side of the scale do you want to live on? I release any sense of worry. I renew my faith in divine order. I release thoughts of competition. I renew my willingness to cooperate. I release any need to complain. I renew my outlook through appreciation. I release old feelings of bitterness. I renew inner peace by forgiving. I release feeling stuck. I renew my will to take the next step forward. I release any feelings of hostility. I renew my practice of non-resistance. I release thoughts of illness. I renew my openness to the healing power of spirit. I release anger. I renew my patience. I release any sense of discouragement. I renew my hope with the power of affirmative prayer. I release my darkest fears. I renew the strength and courage of my heart. I release feelings of loneliness. I renew my connection with spirit, self, and others. I release problems that seem to overwhelm me. I renew my understanding of my spiritual nature. I release the shadows of sorrow. I renew myself in the serenity of silence. What I realized with all these renew statements, you don't have to create something new. It was like, I'm saying the word renew, but I realized I don't have to create something new. Renew means we already have that aspect within us. They exist in our very being. You just have to renew them. I cannot think of any positive character that would not be within God's creation. And we are God's creation. Think of what we are asking ourselves to renew. Here are some examples: courage, hope, wisdom, faith. As Unity's second principle states, I am naturally good because God's divinity is in me and everyone. We are all good. Whatever you want to renew is already there. You don't have to find it. You don't have to create it. You just have to dust it off and allow the light to shine on it. The releasing is the releasing of human aspects. Think of these release words that I said: discontent, judging, loneliness, discouragement. These all come from our human nature. How many of you have perennials planted in your yard? Or how many of you, and I know a couple of you, have been out to the Bouchard Gardens already to see their beautiful flowers that are up? For your perennials in your yard or the Bouchard Gardens spring tulips to grow, the soil needed to be swept clear of any leaves that may have fallen on it, any mulch that may have been put around the plants. That is what we are releasing, is that which stops us from reaching our full blossoming. You know, once the soil is cleared and then the soil loosened, the renewal of the perennial blossoms forth. Over this Lenten season, I invite you to do a spring cleaning. Let us release that which has gathered cobwebs. Let us throw open the windows of our mind and dust out the error thoughts. Let us renew what needs to be renewed within our soul. I look forward to this season of Lent and this journey that we are on together. And so it is. We're now going to sing our pre-meditation song, Gentle Spirit, and then move into our meditation.
Gentle Spirit, flow in me. Gentle Spirit, grow in me. Gentle Spirit, show in me. Gentle Spirit, know me. Gentle Spirit, flow in me. Gentle Spirit, grow in me. Gentle Spirit, show in me. Gentle Spirit, know me. Gentle Spirit, flow in me. Gentle Spirit, grow in me. Gentle Spirit, show in me. Gentle Spirit, know me. Gentle Spirit, flow in me. Gentle Spirit, grow in me. Gentle Spirit, show in me. Gentle Spirit, know me.
Let us take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. Let us take another deep breath in. And exhale. Follow your breath as it moves in and out. Notice as your body begins to relax. Allow yourself to move gently into the stillness. May these words resonate as your own. The light of divine wisdom is my moment-by-moment compass, a light by which I see the way ahead. Even when I do not perceive it, I walk in expectant faith, for I trust that with each step, the light of wisdom is my guide. I focus on the light. Never am I without a sense of direction, for everywhere I am, God is. In the silence, I seek that which I am to release. In the silence, I seek that which I am to renew. Easily I breathe, trusting in every ordered step forward. By the perceiving power of faith, I never have to submit to worry. Instead, I perceive the underlying and pervasive presence of God, of good, as I take my next steps forward. I walk by faith. And so it is.
Thank you, Pat, for this great talk. Isn't it great to have her with us? I really do appreciate this technology that allows her to be part of our spiritual community and to hear her wisdom and her insights, even though she's living in Saskatoon right now. I love what she said about the word renew. We don't have to find our good, or look for it, or create it. It already lies within us. It is part of our spiritual DNA. So if you'd like to talk about these ideas or any other thoughts that you have about something that you've heard on a Sunday or something that you've experienced during the week, please join us at our fellowship time at 11:30 every Sunday morning. You get to hear and see members of our Unity community, and we have really, really rich discussions. They're wonderful. So I'm going to ask you a question. What blessing have you received this week? Just take a moment to bring one to mind. Perhaps it's the snowdrops making their brave appearance. Or perhaps the snow that we experienced this past week was a wonderful blessing to you. I have this book printed in 1938, and it's called Wells of Abundance. And there's a chapter in here, this is 1938, called The Law of Attraction. And the writer says this: do not spend your time merely hoping and expecting everything to come to you. Be equally willing and ready to go to it. But above all, be continually active in building and maintaining the realization that the abundance of the universe is yours, that it flows to you from every source, and that the law of attraction opens wide every channel of supply. Meditate along these lines. I am filled with the wisdom, love, power, and substance of God, and as an irresistible magnet, I draw to me all that is needful for my most complete expression of life. I'm going to read that one more time. I am filled with the wisdom, love, power, and substance of God, and as an irresistible magnet, I draw to me all that is needful for my most complete expression in life. So keeping in mind the good that you have received this week and the blessings that you have been and given also this past week, would you join me in our affirmation? Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Have a wonderful week. Namaste. And now we'll sing the peace song.